Your friend, Dr. Franklin, here, to bring you brief discussions on some topics which you may take and make furtherance of to decide the best way forward for us all. Banned books. Ideas can be dangerous, but I have always found that an idea completely fleshed out, completely discussed, and with its benefit being the greatest good for the greatest number, shall almost always be the best decision forward. And ideas contained in books, magazines, articles, and other pamphlets may indeed be radical, may indeed be uncomfortable to read, but like Thomas Paine's common sense brought the common sense of the argument of why we subject ourselves to a monarch 3,000 miles away, helped change the very nature of the understanding of the people, the colonial people, and now the people of a new nation. And so I would say to you, if there are books being banned because they present those who are underrepresented, those who are minimalized or departmentalized outside of the norm as a way to lessen their influence, those books are perchance the best lights to hold forth. Indeed, as the lesser of us grows, I find that the greater of us benefit. The more the common folk know to read, know to discern, and know to be critical in their thinking, then the greater good for us all. For then it lessens the power of those who rule and spreads the power of those who are ruled. I see nothing but benefit. Welcome back to these Tavern Talks from your friend Benjamin Franklin. And I would like to discuss briefly the idea of hiding history. Now, one of the greatest advancements, of course, in human development, one of the great flames of awakening, was that of the printing press. For it enabled the great thoughts of the past to be brought forth and spread to a maximum number of people, those who could read. And of course, the more books, the more opportunity to learn to read. And when you remove the power of a few to hold back that information and only dribble it out to those they deem worthy, that gives the people with holding power a great deal of power that they perchance do not deserve. And so these books, in general knowledge of sciences, especially that from the Far East, and brought back from the Crusades, and the idea of the mathematics, the navigation, the healing arts, law principles, the ideas of literature and poetry, the ideas of stories, the ideas of the formation of this very planet. All those ideas brought forth to be discussed and brought into our own world were vital to my time of the Enlightenment, the time before me, by about 100 years of the Renaissance, and in your own time as well. These are important building blocks to build a better society. And the idea that history must be trimmed of that which is uncomfortable, that must be sanitized and whitewashed to be able to make it more acceptable of the past's mistakes, that is anathema to the development of a modern mind, of the development of a more subtle and useful mind. We must understand our history. We must understand the mistakes and the errors of our past, of our own past and of the past of those before us. We must know the trek we have walked. We must examine the footprints through our own timeline to be able to understand how better to place our foot in the future. History should not be cleansed, lest the soil from our footprints not be able to better our gardens of tomorrow. we must know all of our own histories. Welcome back to our Tavern Talks. I need another one, please. Thank you. I'm Benjamin Franklin, and I am your friend. And I'd like to speak a little bit about something called the Junto, a group of friends that formed, that I was part of, early in my life as a young printer in Philadelphia. Now, we were not well in the ways of wealth. We were not highly connected as the elder statesmen of our time. But what we had was good conversation and discussion, and our goal was to see what our combined force of about 12 souls could do for not only our own benefit, but for the benefit of our community. And this small group, really the precursor to your modern service organizations, the Kiwanis, the Rotaries, any such group, church fellowship groups, etc., that could be brought together to bear on mutual goal of assisting our community, did much work. The ideas for the fire companies, for example, for the policing force, for the beginning of the library system, the lending library system, that would be available to any who bought subscription, but really anyone could come into the rented rooms we had with our collection of books and read there to improve their mind. All these came from my Junto. And it was that combination of ideas, of friends, that small group of dedicated individuals that really began much of the fertile ground wherein were planted seeds which have grown and continue to grow. Free ideas of free healthcare, the idea of free education, all these were established by those early meetings of our friends. So I encourage such with you. I encourage such meetings, such gatherings, and always have in mind how it may benefit the greatest number, and especially those who are underrepresented, especially those who are underprivileged, to see how they may gain in knowledge, in critical thinking, and in the ability to not only share their ideas, but to learn the ideas of others. For it is this multi-threaded garment that we weave that is the most protective and the most beneficial for us all. Many threads bound together in one purpose: the betterment and the improvement of all. Part 4 of the Tavern Talks here of your friend Dr. Benjamin Franklin. Oh, thank you very kindly. Just what I needed. And I would like to speak briefly about curiosity. And there is a difference between wondering, I wonder why that is, and then devising a way to examine that question and to develop a way to understand it. And you may take apart most anything that I ever did in my life, from the study of hydrology, the effect of water upon ships, and what way is best to pull a ship through a lock system, to, of course, one of the great curiosities of my time, the study of electricity and whether or not it was indeed related to the lightning bolts from the sky, we thought, and to better ways of conducting political theory, better ways of conducting benefit to people, from sweeping streets to collecting garbage, to be able to have a fire company that would put out fires upon our structures. All these things were meant to benefit the greatest, but they all started with an idea of curiosity. And I recommend always not only expressing wonder at the world around us, to our own society, and always looking for ways to better it, from how lamps may be redesigned so they do not smoke and clog up the glass windows, and how a pane may be replaced rather than having to replace the entire lamp on a street post, to better ways of preserving food, to being able to place things within ships to better be able to um, transport things across great distances, to be improving the postal roads. All these come from curiosity. Curiosity in action to understand the very nature of the issue and then be able to come up with the most beneficial solution, which benefits always the greatest number, especially those who have the least access to knowledge, the least access to money, the least access to social convention. Benefit the lowest, and all grow. Part 5 of our discussions here at the Tavern. I welcome you to now a thought of family. Indeed, family is important. I came from a family, well, my father sired 17 children, 7 from his first wife and child, and 10 from my mother by a Folger. And I remember sitting at a table of 13 people, and then my father would also welcome in travelers, be they lowly sailors or ship's captains or pastors and speakers of all sorts, educational travelers such as teachers and lawyers who are coming through town who may need a pleasant meal. Always simple, but always hearty. And we children were allowed to ask questions of our guests if we were polite and could frame our questions well. And that helped inform early on my ideas for what is family, what is travel and the purpose of it, what is the benefit of sharing of these ideas. But family has always been important to me. My own family was fairly small. I had but 3 children. Of course, Francis, my youngest son, passed away when he was still very young. Always a sad portion of my memories. But adopting family was something we all did. Oftentimes it was not unusual for a couple to have a child, and then one of that couple would pass away. And then that remaining spouse would remarry, and then that family would be adopted into the new family, and maybe perchance the original partner would pass away eventually, and then that remaining partner would have to marry again, and then so you have a family now that is totally not of blood, but they're still most close. And I adopted socially many people, Annie Ray Green, for example, and of course there are others, the Stevensons in London, and my family in Paris. All of them very close to my heart. As a matter of fact, some became closer than some of what remained of my poor family, of my children, especially William. Sad. But if you find those who you love and who you cherish, bring them into your family and accept entrance into theirs. We have the right to socially adopt. We have the right to bring close to us those who we trust the most. And by that benefit, we expand our influence and we expand the pool of those that we may draw from for reference and insight into ourselves and to our work and to better it. For those voices we trust. And where trust is, love can grow. Hello, the next part of our talks from the Tavern. And I would like to talk briefly about music. Music, you may not think of myself as much of a musician, as indeed I certainly did not think of myself compared to some of the great talents of the day. But always I had a song to share, and I did play the guitar, the harp, the instrument that I had created, the glass harmonica, and also the penny whistle, a very simple instrument to play. And what I like about them most is that they can be very cheaply bought, the simpler ones, and then you can improve the quality of the instruments as you get better. But always having a tune ready to share at a moment, or if you're invited somewhere, to give your host is something most, I think, appropriate and speaks of a gentle soul. And so I commend you to pick up any instruments that you can, and indeed once you learn one, the others are much more available to you. And I would recommend such this to help gentle your soul and to provide you with material here at the tavern, indeed, that may break out in song, or someone may need a tune to make themselves merry, or to help relax them, or even bring tears to their eyes to help them realize this great sadness and to let that pass through their soul. And if you can do that and provide that melody which brings any of those, you are indeed of a class, ancient and important.